This video is going to be about putting on taller handlebars, which a lot of guys hate their stock handlebars, as do I. Now this can be a really expensive job. This particular shop, they charge $2,000 to change your handlebars. Now Jody charges that much really because he has so much work he can't do it all, and it's a job that all mechanics hate and he don't want to do it, so he bids it not to get it because he's got tons of other work ready. But the average cost for one of these can be $12 to $1,600, I think I've heard a lot of people say. And we're going to do it here for a lot less money. In fact, in the end, it's going to cost me $100. One of the things is you have to extend all the lines, so that's a big pain in the ass. So I'm going to get into that, but first we're going to do a few other little improvements, and I'll show you that now. While I'm in here changing these handlebars, I'm going to do a couple of little upgrades, changes that are real upgrades. Things that are claimed to be upgrades are not always just that. Sometimes it's just a company trying to sell you something and you put it in, it didn't really do nothing or make a big difference or anything, but these do. These are ones you want to do if you're in there, and I'll show them to you, and I'll show you why, okay? The handlebars are mounted on rubber. I'm going to do this for people who don't know anything about it. Some of you guys do, but I'm going to make it for the ones who don't. Let's turn the light on. Okay. The handlebars here are mounted on risers. The risers have rubber mounts in the bottom, okay, which I'm going to replace. The rubber mounts always wear out. We'll get to that. Also, on these older bikes, the handlebars here are held on to the risers by these two straps that hold the bars on, okay? Now that was a bad idea, because if the risers are mounted on rubber, especially when they get worn, we've all seen that, the handlebars just start moving like this. These aren't worn out yet, but while I'm in here, I'm going to replace them. So you have the two risers and the handlebars pushing this way and that, and they're able to move a little bit. So we're going to get rid of that. So first off, let's take these off. That's it. That's what holds them on. And pull them out of here kind of gently. Let's take a look at them. These stock handlebars have a reservoir. They use the handlebars for a reservoir for the air forks. There's also a Schrader valve in the end. This is where you put the air in for the air forks. Now on these earlier years, Harley used to put air forks in them along with their air shocks. So nobody does that anymore. They really don't hold air. Eventually they start leaking it. It turned out to not be a good system, and they quit using it. While I'm doing this bike, what I did last time I was here was I eliminated the air forks. You can just get into the forks and change the springs or preload them some more. I won't bother getting into that. But I had a set of gold valve emulators that I put in the front end, which made a dramatic difference in how, because the suspension was horrible. I'm used to the Mule. The Mule actually has cartridges in the front end. So the cartridges I put in that, I got them from Progressive makes them. They make the inexpensive ones. They cost me $350. You know, I probably got them at cost somewhere. But I mean, there's other ones. You've got Legends and all that, but you got to pay the big money. Also, Legends claims they don't make a set for these old bikes, but actually they do. The way that, because the dimensions on these forks are the same as the ones that came after it, but this is the way those companies work, is they will not, unless they've put them in themselves and had them work, even if they're the same dimensions, they won't warranty them. So for this older bike, I just got the cheaper ones, and they say they work on this bike, and they're warranted for life too, supposedly. So I put gold valves in the front end, so it's no longer air, so I don't really need the reservoir anymore. So I'm going to put, obviously, this different set of handlebars, and we'll get to that. First thing I'm going to do is replace the rubber in these risers, and I'll show you that here in a minute. Let me get them off. Okay, these are the handlebars, and I'm getting ready to put on this thing. Let's take a look at it. I'm going to work them in there, okay? Gently. Okay, now rather than use these two straps that you saw in here earlier, wherever they go, right? Okay, I'm going to be using this, which is a definite plus. You can obviously see why. That's going to give it strength between the two, mellow this out a whole lot. The riser's doing that, and you can actually feel the difference in the way it handles. And I also had a set break in the middle once. It was after 1,000,000 miles or whatever, right where the hole where the wires come through broke. Had to weld it together. Not something you need to worry about unless you're going into high mileage. Now I've taken the risers out. You see the holes where they were, one here, one there. They just go through this triple tree, which is like this top plate, right? These are the rubber mounters. This goes in underneath the triple tree. You can see it goes in there. Then it's supposed to get another one, goes on it like this. Okay? And that sandwiches in between that triple tree. Then you got this bolt goes through it, right? Then you got the riser, which goes on the top. Okay? These rubber pieces have a habit of wearing out. These here ain't too bad. See, the bike's pretty new. These weren't worn out. They were working fine. But while I happen to be in here, I'm going to put in these plastic ones, which are supposed to last longer. Which we'll see. They seem kind of soft. I was hoping they were going to be harder than that. This, of course, goes on top of one of these. And on that, then you push it in the bottom of the handlebar, right? And then another one goes on top. You push that in. And so then that goes, of course, on like that. And that's through the tree. Would hold your handlebars on, man. And then this goes on the top, right? So that's it. So I'm going to put these in. These things can also be solid mounted. They make solid mounting kits that eliminates all the rubber completely, which I've used. Maybe you get a little more vibration to your handlebars. I've actually used them more than these rubber things. These are kind of new thing to me to try, these plastic things. We're going to see if they hold out longer. But I use them because, well, the solid mounters don't wear out. And we know I wear everything out. First thing I'm going to do is take this soapy water and spray this little sucker. Come on. Get it a little lubied up. Soapy water is good because it ain't like oil. It just dries up, doesn't hurt nothing. And we'll see if I can get it to go up in there. It's going. I'm going to need more thumbs to push it, but you get the idea. It goes in the bottom. Okay, now the next thing to do is to run these wires through the handlebars. There's a hole here in the bottom. Holes here, right? And this is just where the fun really begins. I'm going to probably put shrink wrap tubing over those wires I extended. And then I got to get them through here. Me personally, I prefer to put the wires on the outside. But you have to have creases in the handlebars on Harleys for the wires to go through. And these handlebars do not come with them, so I have to put them on the inside. Same thing with the ones that are on the mule now. Otherwise, I'd put them on the outside. It's just as easy. But then this isn't a show bike, you know, it's strictly a working bike. So I'm going to start working on this now. I have determined the length of wire I need and put these 2 marks on this piece of cardboard I'm working on. And then cutting them and putting them over there. Okay, next thing. Things are tricky. Okay. Now we have these little things, I don't know what you call these. Okay. And next I'm going to put them on like that and crimp them. With this tool. Okay. One side of this has the slice in it. Okay, see it? Okay, you want to crimp it on the other side. And I'm going to do that with 9 of these wires. Get them all ready. Alrighty guys. You see how much longer I've made this thing compared to how it was? That is because it goes a different route now. They have to go underneath the stereo and come up somewhere else. So what I'm going to do is I've already done a couple of these. Okay. See the purple one and the orange one? I cut them in different places. The next one's going to get the same. I'm going to cut it down here. So they're not all cut in the same place. Right? Then we got these nifty tools, which always weirds me out, using the right tools for the job. I don't know how that works. It's kind of weird. But we are in a shop. Okay. We're going to put that, line that up. Another gray one here. Tricky. Alright. Now, I've made up some of these pieces that are going in the middle. Like this. And some of this shrink wrap tubing. Cut little pieces of it, right? I got a roll of it here. Okay, cut little pieces. Gonna put them on here. One on there. Okay, then we'll put the black guy on here. Take these really cool crimping pliers. Oops, got them upside down. Put them in like that. Crimp that sucker. Okay. After that, this piece of shrink tubing gets pushed over it. You guys who's ever worked with this stuff, it's all auto parts store stuff, I guess. I don't know where he gets this crap. And you heat it up and it shrinks. Okay, and we have my extension piece in here. Now what am I dealing with? Gray, this gray one. Okay. I wonder if it's easier if I just start it like this. Might be. Now we're going to take this, stick it in here. Okay. And squeeze. Okay. Uh-oh, I forgot to put a piece of this on. It's alright. Go on here. It's fine. Put it on there. Little heat. Another one's done. Now I'm in a shop here and this is the way he's done it. He's connecting these wires. Some guys like to solder them. I've never done that. But I'll tell you the way I did my last 2 bikes was I took the wires, stripped the ends, twisted them together. Actually, I twisted them into a loop like this. And hooked one through the other, twisted them up, squeezed them with a pair of pliers, and then wrapped duct tape over them. or not duct tape, electrical tape over them. And then I covered the whole thing with shrink tubing when it was done. I took the whole thing and covered it up. And that worked too. And that worked on my last bike. That's the way the mule here is done. Right? And I worked on my last bike. They were that way. I retired it with 534,000 miles and it worked fine. Never had a problem. They're inside of the handlebars, so they're not even really getting any weather. In order to run them outside of the handlebars, which is what I would prefer to do, you have to have, I don't know what they call it, dimples in the handlebars. Let's take a look at the stock ones and I'll show you. Here's the ones I took off. Okay, creases. They have these creases. See the crease in the bar? Okay, that's for the wire to run in through. Okay, we got to try to get the other wire through here. So I'm going to start by taking this piece of string and putting it in here. See if this will work. That's the way the pros do it. Except for I ain't a pro. Okay. And we're going to take some air since I happen to be in a shop. Try to blow it through there. Oh, goes right through, doesn't it? Goes right through. Faster than I thought. Okay. I'm going to pull it out of here. I'm going to take these wires, put my wires through it. I'm making like a noose kind of thing, slip knot. All right, see if we can tighten that up. Okay, and then see if I can pull this stuff through. Push, pull, whatever. I don't know if y'all can see what I'm trying to do here. You get the idea though, right? Spray this up a little bit. This is not fun, this part. I try to pull, I'm pulling through on my string here, huh? And push, push and pull. Try to get it to come all the way through. As these come through, I'm going to take these little pliers and try to get them out.
They both have ranch doors, and they both have side doors, and the 7x16, the box is 16 feet, the overall 18 feet.
That's pretty much it. I'll work out the details of it later, obviously. And I got the wires coming out the bottom. Okay? Now, a thing I didn't tell you guys, you didn't see it, is that these holes in these handlebars, that one there, this one here, they had sharp edges in them. And the first time I went to pull this through, it cut this stuff up. Didn't cut my wires, but it cut up the tubing on the outside. So I had to do that again, and then I had to get a round file. Well, I got a couple of them around here somewhere, and get in there and file it down so it won't rip my wires up when they go through there. So, you know, I guess I ain't no pro, so I gotta do it twice. What I gotta do, and I didn't show you guys before, I have to put the connectors back on. Before I took these off, okay, these connectors, I made a diagram of what each one went, what color wire went in each one. See? That one in the bottom's the tan one, that one in the top's the black one. See them? Okay. For this, I have a black and a gray one. these things just have the wires push in the back there, and then they snap into place in there. And then this thing goes in between them. You just push it in when you're done, and it holds them all in there. I just got to start taking these wires, finding the right color that goes with that diagram I made, and shoving them in the hole there. And when they get in all the way, they'll go click. Got one started, tan goes there. The red with blue goes to the next one. It's in. And I just got to do the rest. Okay, now that they're all in, just had to follow the color code I made. It gets this piece. Just goes in here, holds them in. Just push it in. Okay, and that's back on. Now I got to do the other one. I have put this one in the wrong hole. And since I didn't show you how you get them out in the first place, once you take this wedge out of here, right, you just reach down here with a little screwdriver, and you see the little flippers in there. I think you can see them. You pull it back, and you just pull your wire out. There it is, okay? That's how you get them out. Recently, down in Houston, I helped Charlotte put an ignition switch in one of these bikes. And one of you guys left me a message in a comment saying that, hey, that thing was recalled, and whoever it is took his in and they fixed it for free, or put in Harley's upgrade. So I thought, well, this is a 95. While I got this apart, I'm going to check it out. And an interesting thing I learned is, by law, if they do a recall, they have to do it forever. So I went down to the dealership down there, and yep, it's a recall, and yep, they had the parts. And so I'm just going to put this in while I get here. I'll show you what they give me. So what they've got here is they give me a new key switch, which I don't need because my old one's not broken. But what they do is they give you this system. This plugs into here, right? And then this plugs into where that went, and it runs it through this relay, which is a solenoid's what that is. So what they're doing is it must be the power running through it that burns it out. So instead of running power through it, they're gonna, this is what it looks like to me. They're gonna run power through that relay, and all the switch will do is switch the relay from one thing to another. So we'll see how that works out. I wish they'd have simply went back to the manufacturer that made the key switches for the older bikes, the flat key, and got them to build them a better switch, because those switches never fail. They're just better made, instead of putting in this relay bullshit. But so if you've got a 95, I think it was like 94 to 98 were recalled. So that's something to know, right? So I'm going to put that in here. I'm not putting in the switch because my switch is good. I'm not going to dig that out of there. I'm just going to put in the relay. And the shop down there, see, I told them I've got it apart right now, and I'm working. They all know this guy here because he's right down the road, just a few blocks away. I said I'm at his shop, and I can put it in myself, or I can bring it in halfway apart and you guys can put it in. So they just gave me the parts. But by the recall, they're supposed to put them in. So, but then I'd have to wait 2 weeks or whatever, drop it off, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. I'm going to put it in myself. So it's something to know, right? Let's have a look at these new handlebars, okay? The right side is set up for this fly-by-wire stuff. This side is actually shorter. I didn't know this. Jody did. So he ordered me this little piece. Goes in here. Makes them even length on either side. I'm just going to take some RTV and glue that in because I do not have fly-by-wire. I have throttle-by-cable. One of the big headaches with tire handlebars is the brake line. Got to be longer. So I'm going to show you what I did. Okay, here we have my cable on the right extended, and this one on the left is just one that's laying around here, goes to a different bike, some takeoff part, okay? So I got to make obviously that top piece there longer. So what I did, and what you can do, is this piece that goes underneath the front triple tree, I took it to a shop and I had it cut. And then they put a piece on here, and then they can add more onto it. And then they put this extra long, well, the length that I wanted it, they made this hose for me. That's made out of the stock parts. Now, the first time I did that was for Betsy, and I was in San Diego, big city, and I took it to one shop. They cut that for me, put a piece on it. They got to flare the end of the little metal tube, and they put a piece on it, and then I could hook on whatever I wanted. The first time I did it, it was easy. This time here in this smaller town, it was a pain in the ass to get this done. So the whole thing, I probably have 90 bucks into it. That corporate place kind of gaffed me for this job. So if you can do it, if you're in a city, it's a good deal. You get to keep the stock parts, the lower half stock. The aftermarket ones, I've seen one or two of them broken, but there's one on the mule somebody gave me. It's been on there a long time, and it's okay. So I looked them up, and to buy the whole system, it looks like you're looking at about 150 bucks, something like that, 160. Some of them were low. I don't know if you want to go with the cheap Chinese. So it's an option to make it longer and keep the stock stuff, and then you can put whatever length you want on top or buy the whole damn kit. Now I've showed you guys how I extended the wires and the brake line, which leaves us the clutch cable and throttle cables. Now for the clutch cable, I took the spare from the mule saddlebags because there's always a spare in there. And the right length for 14-inch handlebars, at least, has to be, you take the cable and it's got an adjustment in the middle. You adjust it all the way short, and then you measure from the ends of the sheath, not the cable, the sheath, from one end to the other, and they need to be 68 inches about, and that'll work for these handlebars. As for the throttle cables, let's take a look at this bike. Same throttle cables, see them? The way they're bent? Okay. Now the red bike. You can see what I did to them. All I did was unbend them. Right? Took up some pliers and tweaked them around and got them straight, and they worked. That made them long enough to work. If you like the handlebars that are on the mule, they are 14-inch ape hangers, they're calling them. And on this bike, they sit, my hands sit just below my shoulders. Okay? So if you like them, this is what they are. Now it looks like I have the same thing on the red bike. They called these 14s. They appear to be the same. They give you these measurements, but they don't tell you where they measure the goddamn things. So I'm going to show you what I found on this. It says that they are 9 inches at the bottom. So let's take a look at that. What I'm getting when I measure them is 9 inches from where the bend starts on this side to where the bend starts on that side. For this bike, which is 95 and older with these old fairings, 9 will barely fit. The later fairings, I think, came out in 96, and the modern ones are obviously different, so they have to be considerably wider. I had to do the same thing with the mule here, and I'll show you. See where the handlebar comes through the hole here? Yeah, they barely fit. They could use to be an inch longer or more. These had rubber, whatever you call them, seals in here, and I had to take them out. I did the same thing on the mule before. So for these old fairings, 9 inches is a minimum if you don't mind taking those out. Now I think they said they were 31 here, and when I measure it from that to this side, I get right about 30, 31. So I guess that's where they measure them at, 30, 31 there. See it, something like that? Now I personally don't like really wide bars at all, so I want to keep them kind of narrow. So when you have to have the bars wider at the bottom for the later model fairings, I don't know how narrow you can keep them if you don't mind the beach bar thing kind of thing where they're way out the side, but I don't dig that. So these with the 9 inch are pretty straight up and down. See, they're not coming out to this way much. So if you had a much wider bar, it would have to come straight up. Problem with fucking handlebars is you never know until you put them on the bike and ride it. You can hold them and hold them up there, but if anybody who's done it knows that. So if you like the mules, they are for a bagger like this, they are 14 inch with 9 inches at the bottom for 95 and older, and 30 or 31 across at the top. Okay, those are the measurements. So we've got extended wires, brake line, and the clutch cable, and the throttle cables, which are actually still stock. I just unbent them, and that's about it. Now, there was quite a few things that happened at this shop while I was staying there. There was a few guys visited and some other things that went on. And there's some other improvements or changes that I made to the red bike that are tried and true because I've been doing this with this same bike for a long time. This is the third one like it, and I've learned a lot. And that stuff's going to be in the next videos, which once they get up, I'll leave you one of them little boxes at the end that takes you to the next video. And with that, I'll see you all on the next one.